freshman corners been holding up out there?
They've been doing good. You know, Khalif has gotten some playing time there in the games. He's done some good things, competing. You know, he's long, still learning. You know still learning the scheme and still learning how to play at this level. Verone McKinley's been getting action at nickel. He got more snaps last week versus Portland State than he did versus Bowling Green, but he's continuing to grow also.
Those guys are going to be needed in this. You feel like it's kind of important getting some game experience early on because you're going to need them in some more crucial situations as this thing goes on?
Yes, sir. You know, as much as we can play them, you know, and then we had that luxury of however we want to, use that rule with the 4 games. But as many snaps as we can get them right now would be the best so we can find out what exactly they can do and how they can help us this season.
Where did you maybe see the biggest growth defensively from game 1 to game 2?
You know, I think we did a really good job defending the run in game 2. They tried to pound it at us a little bit. So we did a really good job defending the run. I was a little disappointed in the past game seeing us giving up that scramble for a touchdown, and they got us on a trick pass. And then we lost our leverage and our eyes there on the second touchdown with Javon Holland. But I think right now we're doing a good job in the run game, and that needs to continue.
Another good tight end you guys got to face this week. How do you build on last week's performance then, maybe clean it up against, and not let another tight end have a couple big plays like that?
Yeah, you know, one thing we talked about this week, Coach Cristobal wants us to emphasize is fundamentals and technique, and obviously the effort. So they have some good athletes at San Jose State. Like you mentioned, the tight end, he's a big guy, NFL prospect. They also have a receiver who has pretty good speed. So really it's just about us and executing our plays, but playing with great fundamentals and technique and the effort component.
What do you think the development of your sophomores has been, like guys like Thomas Graham, Diamador? How have they sort of been in these first 2 games, given what you saw out of them in fall camp?
You know, they were some receivers in the first game versus Bowling Green tested them on some routes. The ball wasn't thrown their way. I think there was if I can remember correctly, there was one red zone route that we defended pretty good. But you know, the tests are still going to continue to come, but we've been harping on both of them all year long about we have to make sure we defend the deep ball because that showed up, you know, on 3rd and long situations last year. But they've been growing and just, you know, at corner, you know, you're out there on the island, you're going to be isolated versus some very good receivers in weeks to come. So just defending the deep ball, keeping everything in front, and then being able to come down and make a tackle so that way, you know, we can play another down. That's what we're going to keep doing with those guys. And then like Thomas, Diamador, and Thomas, Diamador, Khalif, Hockey, they all have to make sure that they continue to do that.
Same question with your safeties. How happy are you been with them so far?
I've been good with them, you know, just a couple plays. And I'm always talking to them about leverage because with how we play at safety, you always end up having some sort of help somewhere. So we always talking about leverage, especially with Ugo. He's a good player, and sometimes he gets a little lax. So I'm talking to him about that all the time. Javon Holland has played well, you know, and it's kind of a rotation. You see that with the depth chart. It's a lot of oars back there because I feel comfortable about all those guys playing. But it's still, we just want to make sure that, you know, all the guys are getting reps, but at the same time that we're executing. And I trust all those guys in different situations, so that's why you see so many of those guys playing.
You go spend some time at corner. Does that bring a good skill set for his job at safety?
I believe so, yes. And that's part of the reason why Javon Holland has such good skill set at safety. Also, he played corner his senior year. You know, in this league, as we continue to go forward, you know, our safety is going to have to cover a little bit more, whether that be versus a good slot receiver or a good tight end. And like we're going to see this week, so the coverage skill set is going to be very much needed, you know, because we don't really have I shouldn't say we don't have it, but we don't really use it as a box safety that's going to come down there and be fitting a whole lot of runs. We will versus some teams when we get to Stanford, when we get to Washington. But we got to make sure that we're covering, so the coverage skills definitely help.
You eventually want to see a couple guys emerge at safety and just roll with those 3 or 4 guys, or do you kind of expect to have a constant rotation throughout the entire year?
I talk to the guys about all of them having roles, you know, and if I can find a way to reward a guy, if he's playing well, to get him on the field, I want to make sure that, you know, I continue to rotate guys, and I'm always going to play the guys that I feel like that are above the line that's going to help us win. Now, if I feel like like we need some more work and there's a situation that they shouldn't be in, I'm not going to put a guy out there just to get participation.
What will be your point of emphasis for your unit heading into this third game?
Fundamentals, technique, effort. That's it. It's about us. So we got to make sure that we're aligning properly, we're making the right calls, and I think that this is all the way around, from the front to the linebackers, all the way into the back end. That we got to make sure we're executing the right fundamentals, because that's where it starts. You know, you can go later on in the season. You ask me about Oregon State, we're still going to be talking about fundamentals and technique and great effort.
One thing we typically see out of Coach Levitt's.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
How many quarterbacks are you expecting to see, and what's kind of the scouting report on them?
Well, they've played 3 quarterbacks, so how many am I expecting to see? You prepare for all 3 of them, you know. You just got to be ready for that, and whoever steps out there on the field, you know, will be ready. You know, a couple mobile guys, they like to move the pocket a little bit with them. So, you know, another guy throws the ball a little bit better, but, you know, like I said, it's just going to be about us and how we play.
One thing we see a lot of out of Coach Levitt's defense is, you know, those kind of corner blitzes, nickel blitzes, or some of your guys in the DBs there chomping at the bit to get a little more of those play calls?
You know, I make sure that we always go through everything to make sure we're ready for whatever he may call, you know. So we'll go through and game plan and talk about what we like, and but we prepare for it all.
One more question.
From a defensive.
I'll do 2.
Okay.
What kind of leader has Ugo been?
He's been a great leader, you know, all the way from the summer, getting guys out there in what I hear in the player run practices, and making sure guys were, you know, practicing the right way, film, and he's out there telling guys to run around, you know, because sometimes it takes the players to police themselves, because we're always on them as coaches, but it really means something when it comes from the players. So he's done a great job leading.
From a defensive perspective, when you see Jalen Red on the other side, what goes through your mind?
You know, I love Jalen. I offered him as a DB, and I wish he could play some DB for us, but he's doing a great job on the offensive side of the ball. And, I mean, he's given our offense that speed in the slot, you know, catching the ball, fly, sweep, however they may use him. And I'm glad that he's having the success that he's having in his sophomore year, because he's a talented kid. And, you know, like I said earlier with the DBs, we want to find roles for our kids to be successful on the field, and any way that we can, and however we can find those roles to help us win, I'm happy.